So just a quick overview of what we're going to do tonight. Mary Ann is going to talk about, mindfulness and humor. And we're going to watch a very short video called Train Your Monkey Mind by Mingyar Rinpoche. And then we're going to go into our 3 guided meditations. I'm going to do a body sweep meditation, followed by a rain meditation with Paula Seikel, and then a loving kindness meditation with Mary Ann. Then we're going to close out the evening with another very short video called Why Mindfulness is a Superpower. So let me introduce our presenters tonight. Dr. Paula Seikel worked for 18 years as a clinical psychologist at Idaho State University's Counseling and Testing Service in Pocatello. Paula co-teaches classes at ISU exploring the uses of mindfulness and self-compassion in the health professions. In February 2019, she entered a 2-year mindfulness meditation teacher certificate program led by Jack Kornfield and Tara Brock. Ann Chubb is a well-known 40-year resident of the Wood River Valley. She became interested in meditation and the Buddhist path in 1996. She has attended many meditation retreats and leads a regular local group practice in Ketchum. She was a facilitator with the Flourish Foundation for 8 years, teaching mindfulness practices to children in public and private schools throughout the Wood River Valley. And then it's a little awkward to introduce yourself, but I'm going to do my best. I participated in my first 10-day silent meditation retreat in 1988, and I estimate that I have sat more than 6 months in silent retreat since then. And then with Paula Seikel and her husband Tony, we founded the Portneuf Sangha Meditation Center in Pocatello in 2005. And the 3 of us facilitated meditations there for several years. And then more recently, I have taught community meditation classes, well, at Idaho State University then, and then later here in Pocatello for about 3 years. So that's all the overview, introductory stuff. And now I'll just turn it over to Mary Ann. Thank you, Mary Ann.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Before we start the mindfulness review, I just wanted to see a show of hands from those of you that are on video
I need an
that
email.
know about mindfulness practice, or if you have a daily meditation practice, just raise your hand and I'll scroll through and see what we're up to here.
To send it to her. Thanks, Josh.
Okay, and a lot of you don't have your screen on, and that's okay too. So first of all, I wanted to say I opened up the Ion Sun Valley this morning for those of you that get Ion Sun Valley and Ketchum, and I saw that I was the featured person in my pottery outfit holding up a pottery bowl, and it said that I was going to do a humor meditation. Well, I'm not doing a humor meditation, but I think that's kind of funny. I'm doing a loving kindness meditation, but I thought I'd start out with a little bit of humor before we started this mindfulness review. And I've got 3 jokes that I'm going to read to you. Here's the first one. A Zen student asked his master, "Is it okay to use email?" "Yes," replied the master, "but with no attachments." The second one. A Western Buddhist woman was in India studying with her teacher. She was riding with another woman friend in a rickshaw when they were attacked by a man on the street. In the end, the attacker only succeeded in frightening the women, but the Buddhist woman was quite upset by the event and told her teacher. She asked him what she should have done. What would have been appropriate as a response? The teacher said very simply, "You should have very mindfully and with great compassion whacked the attacker over the head with your umbrella." And then the last one. What did the Buddhist say to the pizza chef? Make me one with everything. The pizza chef prepares it and gives it to the monk. The monk pays him and asks for the change. The pizza vendor says, change comes from within. So back to mindfulness practices. I'd like to read several definitions of mindfulness. Some of you have heard these definitions before, and then some of you that are new won't have heard them. This one's from Jon Kabat-Zinn, and it's the awareness that comes from paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, without judgment and with kindness and compassion. And I would add, with humor, not taking ourselves too seriously in this practice. Another definition is by Oren J. Sofer. Mindfulness is being aware of what's happening in the present moment in a balanced and non-reactive way. It's helpful to remember that being mindfully aware comes naturally, and it also comes and goes. It doesn't always stay, and that's why we practice. So we can practice intentionally becoming more aware by formal means such as meditation, and informal means by mindfully, like doing the dishes or walking the dog, or mindfully speaking to somebody else, or just listening mindfully, whatever. So we can do that anytime. Some of the benefits of mindfulness are decreasing unnecessary stress responses and increasing our presence with others. Letting our lives unfold rather than living in the past or in the future. And pausing before acting so that our actions are in alignment with our values. Some of the other benefits of mindfulness are seeing clearly, taming our minds, and developing self-compassion. Seeing clearly means perceiving our experience without the filters of accepting or rejecting or judging good or bad. Taming our minds is really training our minds. We can train in the positive qualities of compassion, self-love, and thereby reduce judgment and our reactivity. And self-compassion is loving yourself without self-judgment and loving yourself unconditionally, even when you mess up. And this is another opportunity to practice a little humor. As your self-compassion grows, so will your humor. Trust me. There's many forms of mindfulness techniques that we can develop to develop our one-pointed concentration. There's visualizations, there's focusing on an object, or bringing our attention to a sound or a sensation in the body. But foremost is the use of the breath, because it's so readily available. And focusing on the breath helps us relax, and also helps relax the parasympathetic nervous system and brings our attention inward. When we relax the body by bringing awareness to the breath, it calms the flow of thoughts. And we're not trying to get rid of thoughts, because that's impossible. Everything we can experience will be a support for our mindfulness practice. Mindfulness gives us an opportunity to step back from the ordinary way we relate to our emotions and thoughts. And after meditating for a while, you may notice that your awareness is more present when you're going about your day-to-day activities. You may feel calmer and less reactive. Another indication that mindfulness practice is taking effect is that you're able to recognize when you are distracted and return your attention to present moment awareness. By returning our attention again and again, we are creating new neural pathways in the brain. And I read somewhere years ago that it takes 21 days to lay down a new neural pathway in the brain and to create a new habit where it becomes automatic. And in the beginning of any mindfulness practice, it really takes a little bit of effort so that you can establish that habit. And then it becomes easier and easier. And intention and motivation to keep going are definitely necessary. And the best attitude to approach mindfulness is to have a sense of curiosity and playfulness and not judge ourselves if we get too carried away by thoughts. If we don't take ourselves too seriously, we can loosen up and relax and enjoy our experience, whatever shows up. We observe thoughts and motions and sensations, but we do not engage with them. Thoughts will come and go on their own if you simply observe them without judgment. Same with sensations, emotions, and sounds. Just let them be and they will naturally dissolve. If you leave the mind alone, it will settle on its own. The practice of mindfulness can also make us a kinder, more compassionate version of ourselves. Mindfulness is a platform, a foundation that helps us see clearly and skillfully navigate the ups and downs of life. And seeing clearly without the filters of judgment smooths the reactivity that we have, and we begin responding from our space of basic goodness and compassion. Mindful awareness can be a rich experience when we slow down and pay attention to our inner and outer worlds. Have you ever noticed that when you slow down and you aren't planning the future or ruminating about the past, how rich this present moment can be? How spacious it feels? If we mindfully witness our experiences in the present moment, we can recognize we have a choice in how we can respond. When we make skillful choices, life seems to flow a lot easier. And in just a moment, we're going to be showing a short humorous video from Mingyur Rinpoche about our chattery discursive mind. And the name of the video is called Training the Monkey Mind. So thank you. And back to Kristin and the video.
Thank you very much. Let me access it here.
Uh-oh, my page went.
Okay.
Oops.
Can everybody see that? Okay, thank you. I will, whoops. Here we
go. We can meditate everywhere, anytime, even 3 seconds, 2 seconds, while you're walking, while you're having coffee and tea, while you're having meeting, so you can meditate. Many people has a little bit misunderstanding about meditation. They think meditation meaning think of nothing, concentrate. So push too much. So we cannot block thought and emotion. In fact, we need thought and emotion. So whether you listen to your monkey mind or not, that's the issue. What I call monkey mind is chatting, pala 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 yada yada. So monkey mind is giving your opinion. So whether you listen to opinion or not, it's up to you, right? So through meditation, what we do is we have to make friends with the monkey mind. But how to make friends? Just giving banana doesn't work, So right method is you need to give job to monkey mind. How to give job monkey mind? So the simple meditation technique is be aware of the breath. So you ask monkey mind, hello, what's breath? So monkey mind says, yeah, good idea. And be aware of breath. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. There's a lot of thought comes at the background. Don't care, no problem. So as long as if you're not forget your breath, anything is okay. Not need too much concentration. Just simply be aware of your breath. Breathe in, out, in. Even two breath, one breath. So therefore, we can meditate everywhere, anytime.
He's always so delightful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Marianne, and thank you, Mingyur Rinpoche. Whoops, I'm getting, I don't know why we're dinging here. Oops.
I was going to introduce
Maybe
you,
I'm supposed to wake
Kristin.
up or something. I think that's it.
So Kristin is going to do a guided body sweep meditation next.
Whoops, you know what? Let me go back to, sorry. Thank you, Tara Brock. Let's see. Out there. Get back here. There. I tell you, this Zoom is a great technology feature, but it's got some tricks to it. So, yeah, thank you, Marianne. I really love the body sweep. It's also called a body scan. And I'll give a little bit of an overview of it from my perspective, and then we'll actually do it. And then I'll talk a little bit about ways that it can be modified or varied. You can kind of make it your own for particular situations. So why would we do a body scan or a body sweep? Both Marianne and Rinpoche talked about that. We have a chattering monkey mind and it needs a job to do. And one of the jobs that we can ask it to do is to sweep our body, to become more acquainted with our body. So why do we want to do that? Well, the body is always in the present moment. And it's easy to get involved in our thoughts or our emotions and get pulled back into the past or begin speculating about something that may or may not happen in the future. But the body is always just right here. It's right at that moment between the past and the future. So if we can be connected with the body, it just helps give us more opportunities to be grounded and to be in the present moment and make those mindful choices that Marianne was talking about just a few minutes ago. We can use the body as a touchstone to bring us back to the present moment. And the other thing that's really helpful about it is by bringing the attention to the body as in a specific kind of way, we get that practice of paying attention to something, being very present with it, and then letting it go and moving on to some other thing, whatever that might be. The other reason that I've found it really helpful is we do get very caught up in our thoughts and our emotions. And like Rinpoche said, that's just what our mind does. It thinks that we have emotions. It's not a bad thing, but sometimes those stories go round and round and round, and we can kind of forget that we have a body. So the body scan or the body sweep is actually a really wonderful way. It's a lovely way to just get reacquainted with the body. So, so I'll invite you to participate in this meditation. So I'll ask you to sit up in a comfortable way, or if you're lying down, or just some way that you're very comfortable. There's no right way or wrong way to do a body sweep. Just bring a sense of curiosity and interest. And you may find as we go through this that some areas you have, strong sensations. Other areas you might not even, your mind might not even connect with it. And that's just fine. That's just something to kind of go, oh, I've got a strong sensation here and there I don't have. So it's a process of holding this experience lightly. And like Marianne said, with just maybe a smile on your face, just a slight sense of humor. So, so just close your eyes if that's a comfortable uh, position to be in. Just take a moment to let your body experience the breath. Just notice, like Rinpoche was saying, just notice that it's coming in. Notice that it's going out. Notice that it's going in and out. And now bring your awareness to your feet. And one thing that I've found to be really helpful is to wiggle my toes a little bit, because it seems sometimes like my feet's a long way from my brain and I just have to kind of remember where they are down there. So I just wiggle my toes just a little bit and then let them rest. And we'll just bring the attention up through the body. We'll start with the arch and the instep of the foot. Just letting our attention rest lightly on that part of our body. Feeling any sensations we might feel. Maybe you had a long day on your feet and your feet are kind of achy, or maybe your feet are just kind of warm and cozy. Just noticing those sensations. Then we'll shift the attention up to the ankles. And these are just points in space. We've given them names, but they're just general areas of our body. So just bring that sense of curiosity as our attention moves up to the calves and the shins. Is there a little tingling, or is there warmth? Is there tension? Then up to the knees. Letting the mind just rest at the knees. Then up to the thighs, those big muscles and big bones that are so important in our ability to walk or ski, to sit in a chair, walk the dog, move. And then bringing your attention to the buttocks, that contact point where they meet the chair or the sofa or the floor, the cushion. Feeling that sense of gravity, that weight of the torso pressing down. So what does that feel like? Then letting our attention rise a little bit more to our lower belly, our intestines, our genitals, the hips, that pelvic cavity. Just bringing a sense of curiosity, wonderment, appreciation. And while we're in this lower belly area, let's take a couple or 3 breaths just way down in that deep belly, letting the belly relax and float out. Then as we exhale, flows back in. Out. This is an area in many spiritual traditions that is considered very powerful. Kind of a center of gravity, a center of balance. So we'll leave the belly and rise up to the diaphragm, to the stomach, the back, the lower back. Noticing any tension we might feel. There might actually be some pain or sensation of tingling or numbness, or maybe just very pleasant warm feelings of contact in the back of the chair, or where a sweater or an arm might touch, creating warmth and contact. We'll bring our attention now to the lungs, these bellows that provide oxygen to our body and carbon dioxide to plants in the plant world. Just feeling that expansion and contraction, that natural work of the lungs that we oftentimes don't really pay much attention to. Letting the attention rise up to our beating heart. And that area in the center of our chest that is called the heart center. Just letting our attention rest in our heart center. It may feel very quiet, it may feel large and expansive, or there may not be much sensation at all there. And that's all okay. We're just here getting acquainted. We'll let our attention rise up to our shoulders. This is an area that works hard and oftentimes carries quite a bit of tension. So if you notice that, you can just bring your attention to a sore shoulder or the shoulder blades. Just send some warm thoughts towards it, some healing energy, some relaxation. Now we'll leave the shoulders and go down to our fingertips. And again, I like to just wiggle my fingertips just a little bit, kind of to say hello to those things that are way out there. And then holding our hands, the palm and the back of the hand in our attention. Our hands work so hard. Letting that attention flow up to our wrists and the lower arm. To our elbows and then the upper arm. Just feeling any tingling or numbness, any warmth where clothing kind of nestles in. And then back up to the top of the shoulders. From here, we'll let our mindfulness rise up into the neck, both the front and the back. Our hardworking neck that holds up our 7-pound head works very hard. And then up into the head itself, where we have so many sensory organs. First, the mouth, with its tongue and lips for tasting. Then up to the nose, where we gather scents. Up to the eyes, we're so visual. There's often a lot of tension around the eyes, so let's just take a moment to bring a sense of relaxation if we can, or at least appreciation to this area of our body. Now we'll bring our attention back to our ears, the back of our head, and up to the crown of our head, that area that we often call the soft spot in a baby. And now one thing I like to do is just let these waters of awareness and appreciation just gently flow down from the crown of my head to my head, down to my shoulders, to my torso, my legs, all the way down to my feet again. And we'll just rest here for a moment and take a couple of breaths and connect the whole body together in our awareness. So thank you very much for sharing this body sweep meditation with me. I wanted to add just a couple of things. There's so much that you can do with a body sweep. Um, I went quite slow. You could go even more slowly. You could go really fast if your mind is busy or whatever. Maybe you're agitated. So you kind of go, my feet, my ankles, my thighs, and you could go really quick like that if the mind's real busy. You can also bring attention to a particular area, which we did. We brought attention to our shoulders, to our heart area. So you could really reside in that area and kind of get acquainted for a longer period of time. You can come at the body sweep with different kinds of purposes. You can, like we did with inquiry and curiosity, um, or you can sweep the body to see if there are areas of tension and just let your mind rest there and breathe in and out and send it healing energy. Or you can focus on a particular sensation. You can go up through the body as a sweep, and just try to find those places that are warm or cool, or that you feel a particular kind of touch or pressure. So you can really kind of fine tune it, kind of find your own way. It's sort of a do-it-yourself meditation, so you can customize it any way you want to. And one way that I've found it to be very helpful, especially over these last challenging months, is I sometimes wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't think that I'm really worried about things, but I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I stay awake for 2 hours. And I have found that I can do the body sweep. Sometimes it takes me a while to remember that I can do the body sweep, but I'll wiggle my toes and I will sometimes say out loud, wiggling my toes, attention on the foot. And slowly, 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 I'll work my way up to the crown of my head. And usually by then, with that kind of really kind of disciplined attention and kindness, I find that I'm so much more relaxed. My mind is so much more at ease that I oftentimes, within 5-10 minutes, I'm back to sleep again. So that's just something that I've found that's been really helpful during this time. So um, So thank you again for joining us in this. And now I'm going to transition over to Paula, who's going to teach us a little bit about a rain meditation.
Thank you, Kristin. So actually what Kristin just did is a great kind of introduction or beginning for this practice, which is called RAIN, which RAIN stands for some words that are helpful. I think of RAIN as being sort of a first aid kit for in terms of mindfulness. So it's one of those things that can be used really quickly, just like Kristin was saying about the body scan or body sweep. Or you can actually take a long time and over many sessions, you can really work through a problem. So RAIN is an acronym for RAIN, and the N has had different meanings over the years. So Michelle McDonald was a mindfulness teacher who developed this technique or this procedure quite a few years ago. And so RAIN stands, the way she developed it, RAIN stood for recognize, the R, allow or acknowledge is the A, investigate is the I, and then non-identify is the N. So recognize something going on, an emotion, a difficult situation, a relationship that's difficult going on, something that's kind of that you're trying to work through and you don't quite know what's going on. So recognizing it, allowing it to actually be there, which is what we don't do very often with difficult things. We try to push them away. So we recognize, we allow them to be there, and then we investigate a little bit. And I'll talk a little bit about what investigating is in this practice. We look into it in some way, especially we look into, just as Marianne was talking about, we look into where is it in my body? Where am I feeling it? What is it that I'm actually feeling here in my body? And then the N, Michelle McDonald had non-identify as her N, which meant being able to let go of this issue in some way and not take it into myself as my permanent identity. So, for example, with anger, being able to say, I have anger rather than I am angry. So this notion of being able to let go of some of these difficult emotions. And then Tara Brach, who we've talked about quite a bit, has taken this more recently and really developed it. She's written a whole book about how to use RAIN. She uses the N to stand for nurture. So the idea of nurturing yourself after you go through this process. So recognize, allow, investigate, nurture, non-identify. These are sort of the practices that we go through. So in this program that Kristin mentioned that I'm in, I'm actually graduating this weekend, yay, from this 2-year, yay, yeah, it's been a long program, teacher training program. We've done RAIN practice very frequently. We go through this process quite a bit. And we did it in groups, we did it individually, we did it with a partner, which was really fun because my partner is from Denmark. So I got to do this over Zoom with somebody from a whole different culture and country. And so it was a really interesting process. So RAIN can be used quickly, like we're going to do it today because we don't have much time. But you can also do it over 45 minutes to an hour. So it's a really good way to work through things. And some of you may already practiced RAIN because it's kind of out there in the culture right now. So it's one of those things that's, I think, a popular thing. So if you're interested in practicing now, we'll just do a brief practice. But if you can think of something, and for this practice, I would suggest finding some situation, some event, maybe something recently, gosh, there's been a lot going on in the world, or something that's troubling on a personal level, but not at nothing too serious, because we'll just go through this pretty quickly. So maybe an annoyance, or maybe a situation you're having with somebody at work, or a family member that's a little bit troubling. So if you can, think of something like that. And we're just going to go through and use that problem, whatever that is, that situation, as sort of the basis for looking at how RAIN can work. So kind of have something in mind. And again, you can do this with your eyes open or your eyes closed. It's really not as much of a meditation practice as it is an investigative practice of how your mind works, which is part of mindfulness. But it helps sometimes to start with your eyes closed and just bring to mind. So this is the R of RAIN, is recognizing what is the problem that's bothering me. What is this situation? What actually is happening? If I can recognize what it is. I know for myself, oftentimes I'll go through the day with this kind of sense of something being wrong, and I won't take the time to actually say, what is it? What is it that started this feeling? And so if you can just take a moment to find something, maybe some little slight, some annoying thing, maybe a political thing, maybe a worry, something that's bothering you. And just notice as you're recognizing, what are the emotions, if there are any, that are being triggered in me? What are the emotions that are coming up? So those might be, anger or sadness or anxiety, certainly. So then moving into the A of RAIN, which is allowing, acknowledging both of those things. Really just allowing those things to be there, those feelings to be there, and maybe even allowing the situation to be as it is. So recognizing that this is the way it is right now. This is what has happened. And acknowledging my feelings. And I'm feeling this way about it. I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling scared, or I'm feeling annoyed or sad. Rather than moving away, just allowing those feelings to be there. Letting it be just as it is. And then beginning to move into the next stage, which is investigating. And by investigating in this practice, we aren't investigating so much cognitively, like why did this happen, or who said this to me, but more, where is it that I feel this in my body? And what is it that I'm feeling? Is it a tingling in your chest? Is it an uneasiness in your belly? Tightness in your throat? And if you want, you can put your hand on that spot. So oftentimes I find my hand on my chest. So just feeling that sense of unease, or maybe it's my belly. Another thing to ask yourself is, what most wants my attention in this situation? What's the hardest part of this? Or maybe even, what's the most difficult thing that I'm believing? Whether it's about myself or about the world. So any of those questions are helpful just to look into it. Where is it that I'm feeling this? What is it that I'm feeling? And what's the most difficult thing about it? And at this point is a good time to move into nurturing. So this is where we actually can say to ourselves, okay, I've recognized this situation. I see that it exists. I'm allowing it to be here right now. I'm allowing these feelings to be here. I've looked into them and I see kind of what it is that I'm feeling. I'm feeling sad or angry, where I'm feeling them in my body. maybe what I'm believing about it. And that often brings up a sense of compassion for ourselves. Like, this is hard. This is tough. This is a difficult thing to go through. So being able to think then, what does this part need? What do I need? What would be helpful for me in this situation? Something we don't often ask ourselves. We often just reach for the first thing, or we ignore it or deny ourselves nurturing. But this is a chance to actually say, what do I need? What do I need to hear? What do I need to feel? What do I need to do? What would help me right now? And that may not be something you can get, but it's important to know what it is that you need. And the non-identify part is being able to recognize the common humanity, the fact that all of us struggle, every being on earth. All of us have these things that happen. We can non-identify with it in the sense of recognizing that this is just part of living. This doesn't mean anything about me, that I feel this way. So being able to have this happen, be able to come up with maybe some things that would be helpful to nurture ourselves. And then see if we can begin to let go of some of this situation, if that's possible to do. And then Tara Brach has added a part of this that she calls after the rain, which is being able to just take a moment to think, what did I gain from this practice, if anything? What did I learn? What was the most challenging part of this, which for many people is just allowing yourself to feel something. But what was the most challenging part? And what did I take away from it? What did I learn? What might be helpful? We're just taking a moment to rest in that. And then just coming back to the room, coming back to where we are, coming back to this time. And if you want to write anything down, I always write stuff down after I do this practice because I always learn something every time. I often learn the same thing, which I always find interesting. All different problems, but seems like I always learned the same thing, which is an interesting thing about us as humans. So we have just a couple of minutes here, but I want to check and see if people have thoughts or reactions or questions about this practice. Again, you can use it really quickly. I use it sometimes when I'm trying to make a quick decision, or you can use it to really process deeply something that's a hard thing. So any thoughts that people have, you can unmute yourself, you can use the chat, whatever would work for you. So. Anything surprising about it?
Hi, Bobby. Yeah, that's a good. That's a good.
Well, I'll say something, Paula. I certainly know about rain, but I haven't done it often. And I have a leak in my basement, and it's been going on for months, like since spring. And I've had people come in and look at it, and with fancy imaging equipment, and they can't figure out what it is. And somebody said maybe there's a spring under your house that just cropped up because of the earthquakes. So what I found when I started the R part, the recognize part, that in about a nanosecond, I was already into the storytelling part, which I just shared with you now. Do you have any tips on how to kind of rein that storytelling part? I mean, it's like I started, but I was already at the end when I started. So I'd appreciate any guidance with that.
That's a really good observation, because that is what we do with this stuff. We get off and running on the train. we laugh in our class about calling this, the difference between rain and train, because we get off and running on the train and we get a hold of it and we forget to go through the process. So I think it actually just takes some practice of doing it. And one of the things that's most helpful for me is doing it with guidance. And so Tara Brach actually has some wonderful guidance, but there's other people also who have guidance online. So you can look up her website, Tara Brach, and she has a lot of stuff on rain. But actually using guidance, having a person guide you through it, because it keeps you on track. Otherwise, it's really easy to get off onto that frustration or the anger or the story. Very often, there's usually a lot of blaming in our stories, and you can really get into that. And so it's really helpful to have someone guide you, especially the earliest, when you're first learning how to use rain. So that's absolutely what most people do, is get off on the story. So not unusual. But this is the mindfulness part to me, is again, coming back to what's actually happening in my body. That's the mindfulness part, is always coming back to what's happening in my body. Oh, that's right. I'm off on the story. Where am I feeling it? What's the worst part of it? So those, asking yourself those questions can be helpful. So. Well, if people have, yes, go ahead, Sarah, Linda.
Well, I was just going to say that I thought that was really powerful. Thank you for guiding us through that. I felt a lot of emotion. I think it was in the investigate part, started coming up, which really surprised me. But then, when you get to the last part of the nurturing, then it all came down and everything was good. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, when I do this practice, I am always surprised by the amount of emotion that comes up about something I'd been kind of glossing over, So yes, it can be really powerful. So that's why I think it is good to do with some guidance, or really good to do with another person. And we did that together a lot, and that was really helpful to have another person there. I don't know, it's just comforting to have another human to do it with. I suppose you could do it with your dog too, but it isn't nearly the same. So. Well, I will turn this over now to Mary Ann, who's going to do our final practice. So thank you all. And I think Kristin's going to send out a handout that I had that's really brief, that has kind of just the RAIN acronym and a little bit about it. It also has an even faster thing you can do, which is called STOP, which is stop, S, take a breath, T, observe mindfully, the O, and then proceed, P. So the idea is, when you have to do a quick decision, to be able to go stop, take a breath, or two, or three if you need them. Observe what's going on. See what's happening here. Really see what's actually happening, not just the story that's going on, and then proceed with mindfulness and care. So the RAIN and STOP are just little things that kind of help us remember mindful ways of acting. So I think they can be useful. So thank you all, and I'll turn this over now to Mary Ann.
Oops. I'm unmuted, I think. Can you hear me? Okay. Paula, I just wanted to make a comment too on the RAIN. What I noticed, I just noticed that it was an opportunity for me to nurture myself and to allow my feelings to come up and just become conscious. Because sometimes you have all these, like the stories, but what's underneath the story? And if you take the time and you do the guidance and you nurture yourself and just really care and a little self-compassion, it allows it all to come up and become more conscious. And that's a great segue to the loving kindness meditation, because the loving kindness meditation really fosters our self-compassion and love for ourselves. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the loving kindness meditation, but it has many different components, and if you don't have a lot of time, you can just focus on one component. The first part of the loving kindness, it cultivates the qualities of love and compassion, and it trains the mind. It's also known as meditation. And there's one person, Sharon Salzberg, who sort of a pioneer in the field of loving kindness meditation. If you can, I think she's going to be on the resource list. She has many books and videos on the subject if you're interested. And it's a good way to be guided the first few times around. So the practice begins by visualizing yourself and saying phrases and sending yourself love and compassion. And then from there, you broaden your scope and you send loving kindness to people you care about, people that you love. And then you go and visualize a person that is a neutral person that you don't really know very well. Maybe you see them at the grocery store, but you just run into them, but you don't really know them. From there, you go to a difficult or challenging person. Somebody that you find mildly annoying is always a good place to start. And you say the phrases to them. And then lastly, you can include all beings everywhere. So that's sort of the steps that we take if you're doing the full practice. So we're going to do little bits of all of those things. So let's start by sitting up straight and being very relaxed. Your eyes can be open or closed. It's usually easier to visualize if your eyes are closed. But if your eyes are open, just have a downward gaze and take a couple of relaxing breaths. And then call to mind something positive that you've done or a good quality that you have. And bring that to mind. Now, visualize yourself sitting in the center of a circle, and you're surrounded by all of your friends, loved ones, mentors, all the people you really care about. And then you send yourself some loving kindness by saying phrases. Some of the phrases that you could say are, may I be safe from inner and outer harm. May I be happy and filled with peace. May I be healthy in body and strong in mind. May I be filled with ease. And you can use your own phrases, anything that's meaningful to you personally, whatever comes to mind. Some of the other variations are, may I be free from fear. May I be free from pain. May I make friends with my body. Just pick a few phrases and repeat them over and over again. And we say the phrases in the spirit of giving and generosity. They're said slowly with our full attention on the phrases. You allow the phrases to wash over you like a soft rain. Don't struggle to manufacture a feeling. Just repeat the phrases. Repeat the phrases silently to yourself and take your time finding a pleasant rhythm that works for you. And don't worry about what you feel or what you don't feel. You may not feel anything at all, and that's fine. The point is to keep your attention on the phrases as you say them. When your mind wanders off, just bring it back gently to the phrases. Sometimes you can send loving kindness to yourself if you're having difficulty visualizing yourself. You can imagine yourself as a small child standing in front of you and send the loving kindness phrases to that small child. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be filled with loving kindness. When you do this practice, you can spend as much time as you want on yourself. Normally, in our day-to-day life, we give our generosity and time to others, and sometimes we shortchange ourselves. So you can spend just as much time as you want, sending loving kindness to yourself. And then from there, we'll go to visualizing someone or a group of people that you really care about and send them loving kindness, repeating the phrases that resonate with you. Take your time. Bring all of your attention to the phrases. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be free from fear. Any phrases that resonate with you. Now, please visualize someone that you don't really know, a neutral person. That person could be somebody you see at the post office, someone at the market, someone you see while you're walking your dog. Could be anybody. And send them some loving kindness in the spirit of generosity and giving. And say the phrases. Because those people too deserve our loving kindness and care. Sometimes the neutral people in our lives don't receive our care because we aren't thinking too much about them or our minds are elsewhere. Just notice what feelings, if any, come up when you say the phrases. Now let's visualize a person who we find annoying or difficult to be around. And don't pick a person who completely turns you off, but somebody who is just mildly annoying. As you become more practiced in this meditation, you might want to pick a more challenging person. Just gather your attention as you say the phrases. Some suggestions might be, may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be happy. May you be free from fear. And remember that you're coming from a place of generosity. Notice your feelings and experiment with the phrases. Always return your attention to the phrases when your mind wanders off. Now let's visualize the whole world and all beings everywhere. What phrases would you like to offer to the world? What phrases come to you spontaneously? Okay. We'll end the meditation now. Your eyes are closed. Please open them. So with the loving kindness meditation, we start with ourselves and we just spread that loving kindness outward to include everyone with our compassion. And it's really a training that loving kindness emphasizes the training on compassion. And I haven't done loving kindness for a while. I do another form of loving kindness meditation. But I remember when I would do it on a regular basis and say the phrases without, trying to figure anything out and just do them, they have an effect. They affected my heart so deeply. And it was almost like magic. It's like I'm saying this phrase, I'm visualizing, I'm doing these mechanics, but something magic happens. It happened to my heart. So it's a beautiful, beautiful practice. And I hope with this recording, you'll listen to it. And also, there's so many other amazing resources, so many meditations, and I encourage you to just play with them all because they're good for different things at different times. Thank you. And so now we have some time. Would anybody like to make any comments or share anything that's gone on today during this series? Any comments? I think Kristin will unmute you if you'd like to make a comment.
Or you can just put your cursor in the, oh yeah. Do I have to unmute everybody? I think you can unmute yourself.
Okay, and then she can unmute you.
Yeah.
May I speak?
Sure. Thanks, David.
May I break a mindfulness rule and go back 2 weeks to when Ryan was talking? And when I'd ask Ryan a question, and in his answer, he used the word grasping. And I don't understand that word, but I'll bet you girls do. Can you give me a definition?
Grasping is attached, being attached to something, kind of hanging on to it and making it real and solid. It's kind of like when a thought goes by and all of a sudden you're doing the meditation, the thought goes and it dissolves. But if you grab onto the thought, then that you're actually in distraction. When you grab onto that thought, or when you grab onto the sensation, the feeling, sometimes something will come up and then we create a story and we become attached to our story and we've built this story up, when really if we just let it flow by and observe it without judging it in any way, then we're not grasping. We're being kind of neutral in open space.
Thank you.
David, I don't know why I guess I have aversion to the terms grasping and attachment. I probably have a lot of it, and that's why I have an aversion to it. But the one word that I just like is sticky. So something would have a sticky quality. So the stickiness would be, let's just say, maybe worry has a stickiness to it. So if something comes up that I'm worried about, then I tend to kind of, it's like this magnetic attraction, and then it's hard to pull it out. So that's one way that I look at it. And I just like that word, it's a sticky emotion or a sticky thought that, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And I imagine Paula might have something to add to this too.
Probably the only thing I'd add is just the attachment to the outcome. We are so attached to the way we think things should be. I know that's true for myself. So if it doesn't turn out that way, then we're disappointed. We're really sad or angry. And so we can really avoid a lot of anger and disappointment and frustration by not being so attached to the way things we think things should be. So that's one of the ways in which attachment leads to unhappiness.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, all three. I appreciate it.
So thank you, Marianne, for a lovely meditation. That was just beautiful. And we're going to show a little short video. It's like 2 minutes long. It's called Why Mindfulness is a Superpower. And we wanted to end on that that note with a little bit of humor to it too. So as I'm spooling it up here, I just wanted to take a moment to thank Scott McLean, Dr. Scott McLean, who was our first invited presenter, Dr. Tony Seikel, you might recognize that last name, who did a wonderful presentation on basically the physiology of mindfulness. And then Ryan Redmond did a wonderful talk on observing that spark of anger and not sort of getting sticky or attaching or grasping after it so that it bursts into a flame of anger. And then I also just very much, deep bows to Marianne and Paula for being my collaborators on this series, and to all of you. I mean, we actually had 103 people sign up for this series, which was just, I don't know, our director was pretty amazed, and I was too. So let me see if I can get that video up here and going. Okay.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. So I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. You might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you, rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribed for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
Aww.
Let me make sure that we're not getting another one here like we did last time. Let's see. Okay. All right. There we go. So, so hopefully that brought a little smile to your face, and you had a little blossom of loving kindness emerge, and you recognize that blossom of loving kindness that emerged. And so that's it for tonight, and this is it for the series. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. It was a delight to be here with you.